There's a story that's circulating and going viral, which I was kind of surprised at, just because for those of you that are here locally, Rio Grande Valley, it has its own little ecosystem, like I've mentioned before, and so you've probably heard the story. If you're from around here, a young girl is dead, not from a car accident, not from like a disease per se, that has other health complications. But, and there's a whole, again, it's a whole thing that's opening up that it's the drink's fault. It's the people that make the drink or sell the drink. It's their fault. And I mean, we can go into like marketing and bring up like kind of a business angle, but as I've heard more people bring out their opinions, and it's the parents' fault and it's the marketer's fault. It's everybody else's fault, right? And I can see everybody's angle for the most part. I get it, but it's like, well, there's a counter argument to X, Y, and Z. And so today's episode, I was gonna give my piece, my 2 cents, but I want to take a different angle at it. What's up, everyone? Welcome to a new episode of Moving with Life. Andy here. And today's episode, like I said, we're just going to jump right in. And this incident happened. There was no other health circumstances that seemed to have affected her, other than taking in caffeine and drinking a lot of caffeine. I think it was like something like 6 drinks a day, I think, is what this person was consuming. And again, I think about things from the business angle sometimes, and I use business terminology as I understand it. But this is a bigger thing, and I was creating this outline and trying to brainstorm and keep it concise, but still drive a point home. My argument as an adult, at least my what I perceive to be an adult, is, and especially again, in the last 12 months, even I've had to develop, and I've wanted to develop, my parenting skills, my parenting style. What would that look like? What does that look like? And this is not even for me to blame anybody that was involved in this incident. Anybody, again, the marketers, the sellers, the parents, the person. I want to steer away from that, because we're here, you're here. And it is about taking responsibility. And if you happen to be a parent and you're watching this, this is my outcry, my persuasion that you as the parent need to take responsibility for some of these outcomes. Because I personally am getting tired of, yes, blaming someone else or finding someone to blame for this incident. But it's like, well, I know I intervene a lot in how my daughter kind of goes about her day's business, her daily business. And mind you, she's 8, she's little, different story. But what I'm already foreseeing, for the sake of this argument and for the sake of this perspective, is that if I can hopefully just plant some little seeds, some little nuggets in her mind about choosing this over that, making this decision over that decision, then when the time comes that she's off on her own doing her thing, high school, junior high, so on, she may think about it, but I hope that she would think about it twice. In a case like caffeine intake, stuff like that. I mean, we're already at a detriment of this conversation, because I mean, Starbucks are full every day. Everybody's buying energy drinks every day. I drink myself not every day, but it's usually between coffee and energy drinks. I personally like Giants. That's my preference. So it's not like I'm not saying that these things don't happen, but when you're younger and there's adults around you, there needs to be like the shift that needs to happen. The next thing to kind of that made me want to record today, because I'm actually recording sooner than I thought, because I didn't want to lose kind of my pace and my ideas, is that you're a product of your environment. Whether you're a younger adult watching this, whether you're an adult now watching this, whatever that looks like, people that surround you, you may not see it, but you're pretty much influenced, and you can influence those people. And I brought up Naval Ravikant before, and one of the things he says is, you are the average of the 5 people and 5 feeds you spend the most time with. Now he's added the feeds part because social media. What are we doom scrolling on? What rabbit holes are we going down on a daily basis? And again, whether you realize it or not, and I think there's a change coming, because even they're showing where this younger generation that are becoming adults that are of legal drinking age, they're choosing to drink less, which is pretty cool to see. I enjoy myself, a good whiskey here and there. And a good craft beer, but even then, I've definitely slowed it down a lot since I've come home, and really, it's because I have priorities and responsibilities. There's things that I want to get done. There's things that I feel the want and the need to see through, and so that's just way more important than a full night of drinking. And that, again, my point of that is whether you know it or not, whether you're a young adult, maybe an older adolescent, high school age or whatever, watching this by chance, or an adult, full-fledged adult with a full-time job and a family or whatever that looks like, the people around, whoever's in your circle, that it's important. And sometimes your circle, and I've kind of talked about it, where losing friends and gaining friends, and some people stick through the rain with you, stick through the trials and tribulations with you. Regardless, you are a product of your environment. Now, social media. I actually didn't think about this angle again until I started trying to develop this order. And Gary Vee says that. He says attention is your most valuable currency, because really, that's why you see Facebook ads and YouTube ads and ads on everything. Now, it was nice when it was just on mainstream TV, and now anywhere. Now even freaking Spotify is bringing back advertisements. Yes, it's cool as long as you're paying for the subscription, you can skip the ads. But it doesn't mean but now there's Spotify advertisements, not just your standard podcast. Like, I listen to a lot of podcasts, so there's advertisements embedded within that, and even now there's advertisements everywhere. The point of like social media, and like this point of social media is, who knows what influencers promote these things. Like an example, like Joe Rogan promotes like Black Rifle coffee, and I think it's AG1. It's like a something of a shake. Anyways, point is that if you're an adult with kids, again, because these are things in real time that I'm now having to think about, and again, I make sure that I know what's going on my daughter's YouTube app or her iPad, and even now where I've gone, yes, I've gone constricted, but we'll get to my main point of that. But okay, what are you? I want to see what the outside world is putting into your iPad, because that's really what it is. Period. You can argue that, so on and so forth. Personally, I'm just giving my piece and my 2 cents, because I'm developing and doing this in real time, because it's not about me, I guess, because you could see it as like me having power, but it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with, when I'm not around, I'd like my daughter to make very good decisions, and the better decisions, the right decisions. It's about, because it is about having influence, and obviously social media, and again, I feel like younger generations don't use apps the way we kind of grew up using apps. So it's changing anyway. So I'm sure there's things I don't see, I don't know about, but nonetheless, it's if you're an adult with kids, so on, it's like what do these algorithms look like on these devices? Something tagging on with the social media, and being of influence, and hopefully being the right influence on your kids, is being present versus absent. And I will argue that even if you have your phone open more than if you're doing things, let's just say, that you get done, or responsibilities, it's going to create this barrier that you can't see. And then down the road, you look at like, why is my child lashing out at me? Like, I'm here with you, but are you here with them? That's what the argument can be. And Marcus Aurelius, again quoting Marcus Aurelius, says the object of life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding oneself in the ranks of the insane. Now, that's a kind of a deep line. It's a deep statement. But the point of it is be present. Yesterday we just had baseball practice. Finally, we got a lot of great rain. Super, legitimately thankful for rain. Grass is green. Some of the grass I just planted is growing. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's really cool to see. Honestly, I feel like that's what's making me sound like, oh my god, like the way I'm conducting my daily business has changed a lot in 12 months. Nonetheless, we're at baseball practice yesterday, and we don't have a game this week, so I want to have a good, hard, structured practice at the beginning, then incorporate some training, like I'm going blank. Incorporating incorporating a workout, not just baseball, getting some running in, a little bit of exercise towards the end of practice. I made this relay race, and it was a concept. I mean, if you've heard of it, it pays to be a winner. And so, like, the first team won. So then the first team that lost, we did push-ups. Then the next round, I think we did a quick half field run, and then we did some flutter kicks, and then we ran as a team. I got everybody, the winners and the losers, and we ran as a team. It's cool being on this side of the fence because at the end of the day, and then one of our kids was late because he had tutoring. Great, go do your tutoring. We'll take care of business when you come into practice. Was late, got to participate in some of it. I still took him to the batting cage, and we still did some reps. I gave him the same amount of reps that every other kid got. My point in all this longer segment is that this is not for me to show off, but it's like, no, I think we're at a turning point because there's so much turmoil going on in the world, I'm trying my best not to get out there, like go beyond this right now. But it's so important, and I hope you realize that you can have a very big influence on your kids, but also the young people that are involved with your kids. Again, this baseball team that I'm now involved in, I'm having so much fun, and it's been a great time. So what do we do with this? If you're an adult, if you're a chronic caffeine drinker, if your kids watch you drink 4 or 5 monsters a day, or whatever your preference is, and I don't believe in the bashing of these things because it's up to you to decide what you do with this information and your consumption and what you put in your body. And I feel like, at least from the people I talk to on a personal level, maybe not on a daily basis, but even on a monthly basis, there's like this, I've brought up Dr. Willink and how big of an influence he's had on me. And you could probably see, he's very stringent. He's very straightforward with like what he demands. And for me, it's like I've gotten to a point where I have this little cushion around me where it's like people can think literally what they want about me. And again, this is not often. It's it doesn't bother me because like I have a vision of what this direction looks like, and it includes being involved, being intertwined. I'm not being in front. I'm just being intertwined because like I want, and not everybody's this happy-go-lucky, positive thing. Sometimes we have to push through. We have to drive through, and I've had to deal with that the past couple weeks when it comes to school. But one of the ways to frame this is I'm not creating rules for punishment. I'm doing it as like a guardrail, and it's not that I'm not like, oh, go climb the tree. I'm watching you, and I want you to be careful, but I want you to experience what that looks like. Because, in my opinion, if I don't let you climb the tree, for one, you'll never know what that looks like. For two, you might try to do it while I'm not looking because I don't want you to do it. Where instead, how about I just go outside and watch you? Now, if you need help or if you're in a serious little bind in that moment, we're there. Cool. And that's an example that I thought of even earlier today, where it's like I've created some rules so that I can have leeway and space in other sectors of my daily business. And so all that to say, as we close out today's episode is, this poor girl that, decisions made from all around, not just a single thing. It's not a single person. It's not a single entity. But hopefully, what I hope, because it should create awareness. There's going to be emotion. There's going to be anger. There's going to be sadness. Those things exist, and it sucks. Like I can't imagine being in that situation. I have been in a hospital. I have my experience in the ER, trauma, so on. I sprinkled that in here and there, but whatever we think is normal now, or what we've normalized ourselves, maybe whether it's not like societal or but maybe within our own personal lives and our personal circles, whatever we've let happen, it's like there needs to be a change. And that's all I'm bringing to this episode today. So if there's someone, if it's you, if it's someone that you know that you haven't talked to in a while, or someone that you normally check in with, you haven't checked in, or maybe a hard conversation needs to happen. Maybe you need this young adult or this young person to be mad at you for a day so that they can thank you later. Whatever that looks like. Again, this is a enveloping subject. It's a touchy subject too, but nonetheless, again, even why I'm recording today is because something needs to happen. Something needs to change, and I truly believe that. So, as we close out, thank you for making it this far with me. Thanks for listening in. I hope that if something here hit home with you, you just share it with somebody. If this encouraged you and pushed you to have that hard conversation, go and have that hard conversation. At the end of the day, it'll most likely, high chance that it's going to be okay, and they're going to thank you later. And if they don't thank you later, hopefully, at least in their head, it's like, oh, like I'm glad I was made and chose not to do this. So, again, thank you for joining me. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment. If you're on Spotify, leave a rating on Spotify. Anything that does pop up, obviously I get notifications and I read them all. So I really appreciate it because it helps. Hopefully, as these stories, again, around the world, around our local community happen, and I find myself in a position that, fine, 10 people, I only get 10 views on this episode, fine. But if there's something that just turns on a light bulb, I hope that it then helps you move to that next thing. So until next time, I'll see you all very soon. Keep moving with life.